Hello, beautiful, and welcome to day 2 of the Emergency Medical Folder Challenge. I am professional organizer Susanna Kay, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Today, we are talking about what to include in your emergency medical folder. Remember, we're building this that we have something that we can bring to doctors, hospitals, if we have to evacuate, or if first responders come and we're not able to communicate. So what information should you include and what might you not want to include? So that's what we're going over today. As you hop on, let me know who you are, where you're joining from. And if you've not already registered for the challenge, it's free. So register for the challenge. The link is in the video description. And when you do, you will get the worksheets that I use to build the Emergency Medical Folder Challenge. So your emergency medical folder will be super, super easy because the worksheets will be right there for you. You don't have to think about building your own. All right, really quickly in the comments, I wanted to say hello. Lovely Marie is here from Alaska. Good to see you. Hi, Jerry and Trish and Judy. We have Renee is here. Wendy, she says it's hot in Oregon. Yep, I hear you. Hot here in Orlando too. Both sides of the country, I guess, are getting it. Lori's here. Welcome. And Patricia, Debbie, a fellow Floridian. Pam is here from California, and we got Jane in Washington, and Sherry's here. She says, good morning, beautiful. Good morning to you, Sherry, too. And Paula, another California, and another California is Brana. Nice to see all of you here. Hopefully you are enjoying the challenge so far. So day 1, we just gathered our supplies, right? Because remember, every day of this challenge, we're simply breaking it down into super tiny baby steps. So it's easy to complete each step each day. And that's what I like to do with pretty much everything that I teach or that I do within Spark Organizing. I like to break everything down into small steps so it will fit into your schedule and so you can continue to make progress without feeling overwhelmed. So that's what we did with the challenge. Yesterday's small step was just gather the supplies into one place. So today, the small step is to download the worksheets. Like I mentioned, the worksheets, they're fillable PDFs. So when you download them, you can either type into them or you can print them out and handwrite in them, or both, whatever you prefer, but they will be yours to keep. But there's 11 pages and they have all of the information that you will need to create your emergency medical folders. You'll just print them out and you're good to go. So that's your small step that was in your task this morning if you were registered. Then in your inbox it said print out the worksheets and it gave you the link. Now, if you don't have the link to the worksheets, when you register, it will email you the link, or there's also a way to grab the worksheets in the video description. There's a link there. Sound good? Awesome. Now, like I mentioned, we are talking about what to include in your folder, as well as some things not to include, just for safety's sake. So let's see, really quickly, I wanted to say hi. Marilyn's hopped in from Iowa. That's where I was born, in Iowa. I love it. Susan's here, and from Facebook, we have someone from Pennsylvania who says it's cooler today, and another one from Washington. Welcome, welcome. If you're in Facebook, then at the bottom of this video description, there is a link where if you wanted your profile photo and name to show, you have to click the link to authorize it. Just a heads up, you don't have to, it's up to you. And Vicki says, good morning. Good morning, Vicki. All right, so what do we want to include in this folder? Well, since this folder is going to be useful for us to take to doctor's appointments as well as evacuate or go to the hospital or have first responders help if we are not able to communicate, or a lot of times you just hand it to the first responders and that takes all of that off of your plate, then there are some things that we want to make sure are included. And you'll see on the worksheets, if you've downloaded them already, then you've already seen. On the worksheet, I have, the first page is always a checklist. This is, the emergency medical folder is actually one small part of the full Spark Life Binder. So if you already have the Spark Life Binder, which organizes all of your important information and papers, not just the emergency medical info, if you already have this, then you recognize this format, right? And you've already got your emergency medical folder. So you'll see, just like in the Spark Life Binder, the first page is always a checklist of what's in the section, and then also ideas of things that you can include in a pocket folder within your main folder. And I'd like to start off with home emergency information. So home emergency information would be anything general to the home, such as local non-emergency numbers for the police, the fire department, places like that. Your landlord information, if you have one, and home details like who is the alarm company, what's the alarm code, where are the circuit breakers, the fuel, or I mean, not the fuel, the gas shut off, the fuse box, where the fire extinguisher is located, all of that really important information. And I like to include information about pets in the home, because if for some reason first responders did have to come in the home and you could not communicate, it's really helpful for them to see that there are pets in the home and who to contact who can care for the pets. So that way, if you're not going to be home for a while, then the first responders or the doctors at the hospital, anybody can make sure that those pets get taken care of. All right, then within the medical area, I like to print one copy of the medical pages within those worksheets per person in the household, and then we just put dividers, and each person has their own divider with their worksheets. But on your medical information, one of the things I start off with are life-threatening allergies and conditions. So that way, first thing that the first responders can see, or the doctors at the hospital, is anything that's life-threatening that they need to know about. Because there have been times where I've heard stories of somebody not wearing their, a medical alert bracelet or necklace, and something happens. So they might not know that if you're not wearing that emergency medical, your medical alert bracelet. So this is really helpful. Then you also want to include things like your health insurance information is very handy to have here, because that way you don't have to look it up in the hospital or at the doctor's office. Any additional health insurance. Also, if you have any letter of instruction or a DNR, do not resuscitate, healthcare surrogate, power of attorney, anything like that, then you'll want to list what you have and where the originals are located. And you can also include a copy of them within your binder. So make sure to make a copy of them. If it is something like a DNR, then you might want to have an original also in here, or maybe a power of attorney. You might want to have one of the originals also in your binder, just to make sure that you have everything that you need that can be acted on right there. Then I follow up with, are you an organ donor? What's your blood type? Yes, they will probably need to retype you before giving you blood, but it does give them a good idea of your blood type ahead of time. Emergency contacts, local and family, and then any other important information that you would need to include. Sometimes I would include other contacts that might have access to the home safe where the originals are stored, or I'll talk about this more in a little bit, have extra information if needed. So some of the information that we're not including, it's good to maybe write who has the information if they need it. And I'll talk more about that when we talk about what not to include. But then the worksheets have a page for allergies and conditions and a page for medications and prescriptions. We will talk on, I believe it's on Thursday, either Wednesday or Thursday, about how to fill some of this in even easier and make it much faster. And prescriptions are one of those that we can save a lot of time on. I've got a good trick for you later this week on one of the lives. But if you wanted to fill it out manually, then you can do that. And then also vaccine information. And I leave a really big page for notes. So that way, anything unique to you, you can add in there that you would want. Now, any of these pages that you need more pages of, feel free, print up extras. You don't have to be limited to just the 2 pages that they have for prescriptions. Print up another page if you need it. And then you just do that one for each person in the family, all that medical info. So those are the types of things that you want to include, because those are a lot of the common questions that they will ask at the hospital or at the doctor's appointment, and it just makes it so much easier. Use the notes section for anything else that they ask you commonly. So if you have any special needs, that's a great place to include it. If you do have something more like a chronic condition or a special need that is ongoing, then the caregiver expansion packs are being released this week. And that can be a good thing to include some of those pages right in the emergency medical folder. That would include things like the assisted devices and all of that emergency information specific to whatever that special needs condition is. So you might want to check out the expansion packs if you have something unique that requires more information. And those will be released Thursday. Yes, Thursday. I had to think and look at my calendar. Thursday, July 28th. Those will be released for the first time. Super excited to be able to release those. So before we go on from what you want to include and talk about what not to include, let's check the comments really quickly. I see that DP is here from Seattle. Hi, DP. Great to see you. And Mary. Hi, Mary. Great to see you again. Jean is here, and Kenneth, Tina, in the comment, it says Tina is here. Okay, so Suzanne says, I did not see a link for the bonus pages in today's early email. So within the email, and I can even tell you, I think, because I think I actually have it here. I feel so prepared. So within the email, make sure that you are looking at the day number 2 task, and there should be a button. A big button that says click here to download the emergency medical folder. So it kind of cuts off on my copy of it, but within your email on the day 2 task, it cuts off on my photocopy of it, but click here to download the emergency medical folder. And that's where you can grab your download within the email. Now, if you can't find your email, if you're still having problems, then in the links, they're in the description of this video. When you look at the actual description of this video, there is another place where you could sign up and enter your information and have those emailed to you as well. So you've got 2 ways to do it. And you can always email me at hello@suzannak.com if you still have any problems at all. Sound good, Suzanne? I'm glad that you're here. Great question. And Diane's here from Wisconsin. And hey, Kathy. Oh, Cheryl says that she didn't see it either. I might need to make that button a little bit more obvious next time. That's great feedback. But now you know where it's at, and there's also the link in the description. All right, so another thing that we wanted to talk about today, right, is what not to include in your folder so that it can stay safe. Now on Friday, we will be talking about where to store your folder within your home or your car in order to make sure that first responders can access it and find it if you're not able to communicate. But we won't go into where we're going to store it yet. The fact is, a folder like this, in order for it to be useful for things like first responders, it does have to be somewhat out in the open. It does not have to be, in the middle of your counter all the time, flipped over, open to an important information page, but it does need to be somewhere that they would be able to find it, which means some of the things you would not want to include just in case somebody, say, broke into your home and for some reason decided to grab that too, or you dropped it at the doctor's office, whatever happens, but just in case, a few things that you do not want to include. You would not want to include something like your date of birth or your social security number, any financial information like credit card numbers, bank account numbers, copies of your IDs. So you don't want a copy of your driver's license or your passport or even those numbers written down. You don't want any things like passwords or logins in here. So think about what would you not want the wrong person to get their hands on. Those types of things you can leave out of this folder. And yes, I know in the hospital, they do ask for your date of birth and your social security number. So the best way around that, in case you are not able to communicate, is within your emergency medical folder, list a contact person who has that information. So when they need it, they can call that person and that person can give them the information because that person can verify that it's actually the doctor's office or the hospital. And that is going to keep you a bit safer. So they can still get the access to the information, but it's not going to be accessible to anybody who does not need to have it. Anybody who should not have their hands on this folder, right? So that's what I like to do. I list a contact person who has that information. I list what information they have, that they have, access to the original documents in the home safe. They have my date of birth, social security number, and any ID copies that they would have a copy of that. And if they contact them, then they can release it to them. The main thing though, whenever we're talking about safety, if there's anything in here that you don't feel comfortable having sitting on, next to your refrigerator or microwave, don't include it. You can leave those parts blank and just have the person, the contact person, have that information as well for you. So go with your gut. Everybody's level of security is different, right? Some people don't feel very secure letting much of any information out at all, right? And then some people don't mind sharing a whole lot more. So use your own best judgment, go with your own gut and modify it for what works for you, because there's no right or wrong answer. None of us really have a handle on absolutely all of this as it is, because it changes constantly, right? So far, if you're liking this, click the heart or tell me in the comments if you're enjoying this challenge, this video, if any of this is helpful. I always love to hear that. Okay, so finally, we're going to talk about how to use these free worksheets to make this ridiculously easy. All right, before we do that, let's hop over to the chat again. Kip is here. Hi, Kip from Tennessee. Great to see you. And then Lovely Marie says, how would you go about the family history? So parents, siblings, grandparents, etc., since doctors always ask. If you're interested in having that in there, feel free to add some pages in there. So you can always write up the family history and include it as one of the pages within here. Or you can type it into the notes section if you wanted to use the worksheets for it. That's completely up to you. With this, I tried to make it not too thick, because this is something that hopefully you can grab quickly. And if you have a lot of family members, it gets thicker and thicker. So this has just the most important information that the doctors would ask for, but anything else that you do want to include, you absolutely can. Make this your own. Add anything to it that you want to. Now, in the full Spark Life Binder, one of the areas is medical, and it has a whole lot more information, including where you can list all that information for your parents and your grandparents, that medical based information of your family history. So within the Spark Life Binder, because this is meant to capture all of your important information, the medical section, it has multiple sections. It's got basic information, dependents, and then end of life, finance and insurance, real estate and personal property, legal and official records, digital life, and it's got a resources section. But within the medical section, that is where you can find some of that family history stuff. So if you already have the Spark Life Binder, you could always just copy the page where you have your family information. Yes, so right here, along with your medical history and family history, you could copy those pages and put those into your emergency medical folder if you wanted to. So if you already have this, then you've got the shortcut already for that as well. If not, feel free to write up your own. That's a good one. All right, let's see. Hey, Judy. Judy's here from Florida. So Suzanne says, the early email refers to a small sample of worksheets in the Spark Life Binder, not just the EMF pages. Okay, so the emergency medical folder pages are the small sample of worksheets. So this is one small part of the full Spark Life Binder. So when you get the full Spark Life Binder, you have the emergency medical folder section, as well as the other, I think 10, I believe, sections of important documents. So I think it's just the wording that might be confusing in that email, and I'll look through that wording and make sure that it's clear. But that's the same worksheets. So when you download that small sample of worksheets, that is the emergency medical folder worksheets. And they are set up just like in the Spark Life Binder. So that way, when you're working with the worksheets, you can see what it would be like to work with the digital version of the Spark Life Binder, or if you print them out, that's what it would be like to work with the printed version of the Spark Life Binder. It'll just give you an example there too. So Pam Stone, yes, she says, the link I have brings me to the same page as yesterday. Is that right? So yes, if you clicked on the link to download the worksheets yesterday, they're the same worksheets, absolutely. Mary says, would you put your living will information in? That's up to you. For me, I might put in the note section a like general summary of it, or a photocopy of my living will and list where the original document is. I don't currently have that in mine, although I am going through updating mine. So right now it's sitting on my counter waiting to get to the notary. But that can be, if that's your preference to have that with you, it can be something that you include if you'd like, or you can just include who has a copy of it and in case that's necessary. Sherry gives some thanks. You bet. Perfect. So Judy says, very helpful to prepare for all kinds of emergencies. Thanks so much for offering this information. You're so welcome. Tomorrow I'm going to talk a lot more about some of the things to put in the pocket folder. But just since we're talking about some of the papers, one of the things that I also like to include in the pocket folder would be vaccination records for your pets. So that way, if you did have to evacuate for an emergency and go to a shelter or put the dogs and cats into boarding, then you would have the vaccination records available since they require that usually. So just another quick tip, share more of those for the pocket folder and how to take your emergency folder to the next level on Thursday. You're welcome, Paula. Hey, Gloria, glad to see you here. And Marge, yes, she says, this will be invaluable if the need ever arises. It is. I love hearing the stories of how this saved the day when there's an emergency. But also, this is so helpful just when you go to the doctor's office. I don't know how many times I've gone to the doctor's office and brought this in, and all the nurses ooh and ah over how it's all so organized and the information's right there. And I've even had them show it around to the other nurses. So I hear other people saying when they bring it to the doctor's office that they get that same reaction. I love it. You're welcome, Suzanne. Judy asks, do you have a section for pets? There's not a full section for pets in the emergency medical folder. There is in the Spark Life binder because there's a lot more information needed. But as far as emergencies go, I just have one small section for pet information here as far as what pets are in the home, the local contact who can care for the pets, and a little bit of area for notes about the pets. So you might want to write, where they tend to hide. If they can't find them, cat usually hides under the master bedroom bed, things like that. So it's a small area for pets just because this is not really for the caregiver. This is for the emergency people so they know that there are pets and who to contact. And that caregiver is who you would give all that additional information to. You're so welcome, Kathy. And Wendy says, I'm going to be placing a small version in our cars along with our advanced directives. That is fantastic. And when we talk about where to store it, some people do like to store it in their cars or a copy of it in your car. It totally makes sense. So we will talk more about that on Thursday, but absolutely, or Friday, I think. Now I'm getting confused. Yes, on Friday. Oh, hey, Glow. She says, I've been asked about my hubby's prescriptions and didn't know the info. So this will be helpful to have on hand as well as if we ever have to evacuate. It is so helpful, right? I would not know Moose Pie's prescriptions off the top of my head. So having this means that if something were to happen to him, I can answer those questions or more likely just hand the paramedics the folder and point to where his information is and let them pull out any information that they need. So it's super helpful. I'm glad that you say that. Okay, so let's talk about how to use the free worksheets. So this is so much easier. One of the nice things about the emergency medical folder, it's actually the whole foundation of creating the Spark Life binder, is to take your brain out of the system. And that's one of the core concepts that I use in my organizing all the time. So the way this all came about, when I was organizing with people one-on-one back in the day in their homes, I would find over and over again that they did not have their important information easy to access. Either it was completely unorganized or it was all in file drawers, and either only they knew where it was, and in order to grab the information, they'd have to go through the file drawer and find it, or they did not even know where it was very easily. And most of the time, their loved ones had no idea where to find things within the file system. So I wanted to make it where it's super, super, super easy to have all of your most important information at your fingertips, and your loved ones know where they can find that information if you're not available. So that's why I actually created the Spark Life binder originally. I created a version of it for me, and then I adapted that to work for anybody's situation. And slowly but surely, started using it just with my clients, my one-on-one clients. And they loved it so much because when you create the worksheets, just like the ones in the emergency medical folder, if you have worksheets, those are going to already tell you what you need. So you don't need to think about in, finance and insurances. You don't even need to think about what information your loved ones might need, what information you might need to get to quickly. You're just going to answer the questions on the worksheets. It's already done for you. So we're taking our brain out of the system. We don't have to decide what information to put in here. We don't have to build any worksheets, decide how to organize it. It's already done. So that's why I love having worksheets where you're just answering questions. It takes your brain out of the system. So that's what makes this so much easier to set up. Because this could be a challenge where I just told you what information to put into your emergency medical folder, but that's going to take a whole lot more work than if it's done for you, right? So it takes your brain out of the system. You don't have to think about what to include, and with it being a fillable PDF, you can type into it or you can print it out and just handwrite on it, whatever your preferred style is, and it's really easy to update. So if you have the digital copy already, then if it gets messy, you just print out another one, which I love. So when you are using these worksheets, the easiest way to complete your worksheets is simply to flip from one page to the next and only enter the information that you know off the top of your head first. So just read through each different, blank, and if you know the answer, fill it in. If you don't, skip it for now. And just do that through the whole folder, right? And then go back and you can go through, and anything that's still blank, you can look at it. And if it's a super quick answer that you can look up, like the police non-emergency number, you could probably look that up on Google really quickly. So that could be something super quick to fill out, and fill out the easy blanks. And then if there are still any blanks in the emergency medical folder, there's not usually, because most things are super easy to look up. But if there are still some things that are blank, that's what you can do last. So do the harder things last, because you will feel like you're so close to the finish line, you won't mind doing those. But if you're trying to do all the harder stuff first, then it's going to feel like it's going to be a lot of work, because your brain will forget that most of these answers you know off the top of your head. So first pass, just go through, answer what you know off the top of your head really quickly. I like to print mine out and handwrite mine because I'm better with things being printed, and then I go back and type it digitally and print it later, and then I have the backup. But that's completely up to you, personal preference. If you're digital or print, or you prefer both, then you have that available. But just use the worksheets, just fill in the blanks. Don't worry about the rest. Sound good? All right, so really quickly, tell me in the comments. We talked about what I would include in the emergency medical folder, and what not to include. What would you include? Something that maybe I did not mention. I always love to hear everybody's ideas, and yeah, so tell me, what else would you include in your emergency medical folder, either in the pocket, which we'll talk about on Thursday, or as some of those different blanks? Sherry says it's a no-brainer. I love it. Terry says, sorry if I missed this. Is there a place to list multiple doctors or healthcare providers and their contact info? Great question. And you did not miss it because I did not mention it, because I forgot to tell you that in the back, one of the things that we'll talk about on Thursday, that's why I forgot, is I like to include one of these business card holders. It's like a sheet protector that holds business cards. I like to include at least one of them or several, and I just grab the business cards for all of the different doctors that we see. And I can slide them in here, and I can write notes on the card, whose doctor it is. I also do the health insurance cards. So that way all of the information's right here, and you don't have to spend all the time typing that or writing that information in. You're gonna have a whole lot more information on the cards. So yes, it is in there. I'm sorry I forgot to mention, thank you so much for bringing that up. But I prefer to not have to write more than I absolutely have to. So using the business card sections works out really, really well. So Marcia says, my brain is working too hard at figuring out why these pages are printing on only the right half of each page. It might be in your printer settings. So in your printer settings, when you hit print, check to see. There might be an option for more settings or advanced, and click on that and see if it's like, make sure that it says fit to page in the settings. And if not, then it might be kind of skewed, or maybe you've got another setting that's a little off. If you still have a lot of problems and can't figure it out, then shoot me an email at hello@susannak.com. All right, because hopefully we can walk you through maybe troubleshooting. Every printer's different. Sometimes we can help, sometimes we can't, but we can absolutely try. Cheryl says, what's the purpose of the non-emergency phone numbers for police and fire department? Great question. So the reason for that is I have actually had to call those numbers before, and trying to find those numbers when there's something going on, that like suspicious activity in the neighborhood or something like that, that's really more difficult. You know, it's a little bit more stressful. So that's more of a, I would grab this folder and find that information really quickly myself. So it's more of a for me to use or for, you know, the homeowner to use, not so much for the doctor or paramedics, but it's really good to have on hand in case of emergencies. I do find some people also like to, if you have the expansion checklist for the emergencies with the list of emergency evacuation supplies and how to handle various emergencies, some people like to put that within their emergency medical folder too, because then, you know, your brain thinks emergencies and it can quickly flip right to emergency information that you might need as well. Good question. Love it, Cheryl. Terry says, thank you. You're so welcome. Sherry says, as a fur baby mama, I plan to create a section for my doctor. I love that, doctor. Yes, that's a great idea. Absolutely. Love it. Jennifer says, I really wish I would have had this filled out a week ago when I had to call the paramedics for my husband. Oh, I hope everything's okay. And now you're going to be ready if anything like that ever happens again. So yes, I hope everything's okay though, Jennifer. Sending big hugs. Carolyn says, full medical history, all medications and allergies. Absolutely. So all medications and allergies, those are absolutely already in there. Full medical history. Yes, if you wanted to keep your full medical history in your emergency medical folder instead of something like a Spark Life binder or an important papers binder, you absolutely can. Now, next week, registration is not opened yet, but later this week, registration will open, and I'm actually doing a free webinar on how to build your own binder, your own important papers binder, so that, you know, if you did not want to purchase the Spark Life binder, you would be able to build one on your own. And we talk about the different things in there. So keep your eyes open for that webinar. I believe on Wednesday, it's either Wednesday or Thursday, I think we are opening registration for that one. It'll be at susannak.com in the store section, but then you can register for that webinar, and that's another place where that full medical history can live. Either way, whatever you prefer, I love it. Lovely Marie says, love it. Gonna type mine in, then print the pages out. Your layout looks so much better to read, easier flow. Thank you so much. Made my life so much easier from this day going forward with my medical. Aw, I love that. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm so glad. DP says, same as Sherry. She's making a pet section. I love that. Cute. Jean says, I love the business card idea. Oh, anything to save time and make it easier, right? And then what I like to do is I actually keep a couple extra of my business cards for my general doctor, who is the one that should be getting copies of everything. So whenever I'm at a specialist, I can just, you know, have that business card and say, I need copies of everything sent to this guy. And then I have the information if I have to fill out forms, or they have the information. GD says, this is great. It allows for me to include info about my husband's cochlear implant, heart stents, etc. Yes, that's why I try to make the notes page nice and big. Feel free to do several notes pages if you need to, but absolutely, any of those conditions are good to have listed. Lovely Marie says, information plus save on a flash drive to be on the safe side. Yes, absolutely. Cheryl says, okay, thank you. You're welcome. Sherry says, I'm also thinking this will be a great birthday gift for my 86-year-old dad. Aw, I love that. That is a great gift. Sylvia says, thank you. I was able to print the pages easily. I'm doing one for my husband now. You are excellent. Aw, you're so welcome, Sylvia. I love that. Oh, Karen, she says, so sorry I'm late. Not a problem, Karen. I'm just glad you're here. Welcome. Gloria says, I've not been able to find the business card holders at any store in our area. I order mine on Amazon now most of the time. I used to get it from the local office supply store. but it's one of those things that sometimes they are out of stock. So check on Amazon if you have that available near you. Other than that, usually the office supply stores do have them, but you may need to order them online if they don't have them local, or order online and have it shipped to the store to save on shipping if they offer that. Cheryl says, put a list of surgeries so doctors know about my bionic metal parts. Yes, that's really important. So when you talk about the different conditions or in the notes section, make sure to list the different metal parts that you have, especially in case they need to do something like an MRI or something. They need to know where any metal is in your body. So that's a really, really good one. I love that. Jane says, this makes things so much easier. I love it. The Spark Life Binder is a game changer, she says. I want to make my children have an easier time if something happens to me. Absolutely. I know earlier this year when I went through a bit of a life-threatening situation and it became very real, I was comforted by the fact that at least I had all the important information in one place if something did happen to me. It's such a relief. So I'm glad that you're doing that, Jane. Karen says, my son has a brain pump, so adding that will be good. Yes, really important for them to know. Absolutely. You guys have such great ideas. I love it. All right, well, just as a recap, we talked about what to include, right? So all the different things to include in your medical folder. So you want to include general emergency information, including alarm codes for the house, where the circuit breakers are, non-emergency contact information if there are pets, that type of information. And then we want to also include medical information for each person. So print one section of the medical for each person and add dividers. And that would include all of the, medical, like current medical history or things that would apply today, prescriptions, allergies and conditions, life-threatening allergies and conditions, organ donation, if there are any letters of instructions, things like that, vaccinations, all of that good stuff. And then we talked about what not to include. Use your gut. All right, go with what makes you feel comfortable as far as what you include or not. But in general, I don't include like date of birth, social security number, any financial information or logins, and I don't include any copies of IDs or ID numbers. What I do is I include a contact person who has that information if they call and verify who they are. And that contact person can release that information to them. So that way I don't have to worry about it getting in the wrong hands. And we talked about how to use the free worksheets to make it ridiculously easy because we take our brain out of the system, right? You simply fill in the blanks on the worksheets. It's already done for you. All the thinking's done for you. Go through, answer what you know off the top of your head first, and then go back and do anything that you have to look up. You'll be surprised how fast you can fill it in because most of this is going to be right off the top of your head. You'll know it. And remember, if you've not already registered, you can still register for the challenge. So every morning you'll get a quick, super small, easy step for the day. You'll get the free worksheets, the emergency medical folder worksheets, and you'll get other resources sent to your inbox throughout the week and the live sessions and all that good stuff. So you want to make sure to register so you can get everything. And you'll have a chance, not a chance, you will have access to, it's a better way of saying it, you'll have access to our full schedule page. So if you are already registered, then you will see we have a challenge schedule page. So this page here, bookmark it. It's listed in your emails. So bookmark this page because this is one spot where you can get, if you're missing the downloads or you missed that day's task or you need the link to join the live session. Everything is on this page, including the times and the days that it's happening. It's all in one place for you. So find this link in your email from either when you registered or your daily tasks and bookmark it. And you can go back to this page throughout the challenge. It's super, super, super helpful to have because life moves fast. So you can check that schedule page for all the links, the schedule, the downloads, and more, all in one place. And then next, I wanted to tell you tomorrow. So tomorrow, again, we will be live at 1 p.m. Eastern, same time as today, same place as today. And tomorrow we are talking about the easy way to fill it in one step at a time. I already gave you the hint about, going through and answering what you know off the top of your head. We'll also talk about how to use a fillable PDF. Oh, I haven't typo in that one, but how to use a fillable PDF so that you can type into it and save it and reprint it anytime that you need to, update it anytime you need to, and use that as backup. We'll also talk about how to print additional pages if you need additional pages and you don't know how to print them. So I'll go a little bit into the technical side of some of how to use the worksheets. All right, really quickly in the comments, let's see. Yeah, Carolyn says a pet section is a wonderful idea. Typed and printed is best for others to read. I do agree. Yes, if you don't have super pretty like kindergarten teacher handwriting, then having it typed and printed out is definitely best. Even if you do have pretty handwriting, it's still easier for people to read typed information for sure. Oh, Lori says for the business card holder, she took one of her son's sheets that used to hold his Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm not sure exactly how you say it. They got them at stores like Kmart, Walmart, or other gaming stores. She's not sure that you can buy just one sheet, but yeah, none of the packs of the business card holders can you buy just one sheet at the office supply stores either, but that's a great, great idea. I never even thought about that. The game stores would have those types of holders. Thank you. Judy says, do you include the insurance information? I do, and there's a section within the worksheets for the health insurance and supplemental health insurance information for you to write that in. And what I like to do is I put a copy of the health insurance card in that business card holder. So that way they do have the health insurance information. It's up to you though, if you prefer not to have that in and just have them contact somebody to release that information, that's an option as well. Sherry says, a current medication list can be easily downloaded and printed from your pharmacy, like CVS, Rite Aid website. That's so true. Yes, or either from the website or when you go to pick up a prescription, you should be able to ask the pharmacist if they can do a printout of all of your prescriptions. So that's a good idea too. Thank you. I love it. Yes, Debbie says, I will not be able to watch the live tomorrow. Can I watch a replay? You can, absolutely. So if you're on YouTube, then there is a playlist on my channel just for this challenge. And all of the content for the challenge will be available only for this week and next week. So at the end of next week, it's all coming down. So you have the 2 weeks total to check all this out. Right now, today it is what? July 26th, 2022. So all of the replays, the challenge schedule page, the Facebook group unit, it will all be available until Sunday, August 7th, 2022, the end of the day. So yes, you can watch replays and catch up on all of that anytime during that 2-week period. If you're watching this video somehow after that, then registration ends at the end of the challenge, which is on this Sunday, the 31st of July. So you won't be able to do the registration link, but all the rest should be available until the 7th. So great, great question. Also, Debbie, that challenge schedule page, this page right here, this page is a great place to bookmark from your emails, find it in your emails, because it has the replay links right there for you. So after the live, then that replay link for that day will take you to the replay. So that's another option for you. All right, let me hide that so I can sit back up straight. Great questions, absolutely love it. If you've not already registered, like I mentioned, register. And coming up, we have this Saturday, it's called our public group hike. So if you are a Pathfinder, one of our Path members, you know what the group hikes are. The group hikes are where we come together on Zoom for 2 hours. You can arrive late, you can leave early if you have to, but it's a 2-hour window that we will all be on Zoom working side by side together. So I put on music, we have some focused work time, then we take breaks, I answer any questions, share tips if there's extra time, and then we do another work session and a break and a work session and a break. And it's a great way to work on any project that you might have. So it could be painting your nails if that's on your list to do that day. It could be organizing your closet, or for this challenge, this is why I'm doing it this Saturday, you can bring your worksheets for your emergency medical folder and put those together during this session. And that way I am right there, and so is everybody else that's joining from the community. We're right there to answer any questions if you get stuck, if you aren't sure about something, then you have us right by your side. So join me for the public group hike. You do have to register for this one. So members, you won't need to register. You can go through your normal group hike link, but if you're not a member, then you will have to actually register. The link is in the description of this video. And it's this Saturday, July 30th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. So hopefully you can join me for that. And if you ever wanted to join the membership, then we do these group hikes. It works out to about once a week. It's several times a month, every other Tuesday and every other Saturday. We do a group hike together, and it's a great way to have something on your calendar that gets you motivated and working on things. So in the future, if you ever wanted to join the membership, that's just one of the perks. So that's where the group hike comes from. Okay, so Sherry says, just like an FYI, you cannot request a printout for anyone else, only your own information. We request an annual printout each year for taxes. Good to know. So if probably unless you have a power of attorney, I guess maybe they'd honor that, but otherwise not so much. Sherry says about the group hikes, she goes to the group hikes all the time. She says, plays fabulous music. I do enjoy the music. I love our playlist. Peg says, I shared the business card holders with other family members for their emergency medical folders. Oh, that's perfect. Because a lot of times they come in like a pack of 10 to 30 and you don't need all of them. So I love that you shared them. Patricia says, we need one binder for car and one for home. I love having a copy for the car. I think it's just a great idea, at least the basic information, because you never know. It's just helpful. Well, thank you so much for being absolutely amazing today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, same place, same time for another Live for the Challenge. And keep going. Remember, today's task was just to download the worksheets. If you've done that, then you get to celebrate yourself. You've already done it. You've completed the step. Tomorrow morning, you will get an email if you're registered with your next small step. And by the end of the week, you will have your emergency medical folder all set up so fast and so easy, and it'll be ready to help save the day if you ever need it to, but hopefully you don't. So Karen says, I'm hoping to join the group hikes. Yes, that would be wonderful. We would love having you there, Karen. And Terry says, thank you, Susanna. Very helpful. You're so welcome. Judy says, thank you. Great tips. I love you all so much. You're so welcome. Have an amazing day. I will see you later. I love you. Bye-bye now.